I'm Mike Alcoholic. I was thinking about the topic, and Autumn made it very easy. We discovered a word called supplanted, so this topic is going to be called supplanted. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think about this is an old story that has to do with the old building that's not here that burnt down in 2003. I had to ask Anna the exact year. I had forgotten. Anyway, we were sitting out on the other side of that rock retaining wall there that you step down to go to that used to be sort of like the front area right next to the front door, and that picnic table was down low there, and a couple of us were sitting there, and we'd come down this parking lot here, and you would have to go to the right and park on to the left, or go to the left and park over this side. And this lady was creeping down the side of the building here, and I remember she started coming toward us, and we were thinking, okay, well, she's fixing to choose which way she's going to go, but she didn't. She kept coming straight for us. She was going very slowly, and her wheels bloop right off the edge of that retaining wall. I'll never forget it. We had stepped back for a second. We were like, wow, this is an interesting show. I mean, she wasn't going fast enough to hit us, but we were certainly not going to leave 5 minutes before the miracle. So this crazy woman comes off, wheels go off, and she's basically teetering there. And the door opens up with a creak, and she gets out, and she says, is this where they hold the AA classes? God is my witness, you can't make this up. And the reason the word supplanted is good for that situation is because what brought me here is not going to be what keeps me here. What brought me here were the threats that brought me here. I'm sure that they brought her here. I mean, she had to get a slip sign for sure, or for some other reason. But those things are quickly rectified, and those things are supplanted by the new reasons that keep me here. And those become the reasons that I stay. And they have nothing to do with threats, which is what brought me here. They have nothing to do with I'm going to die or some kind of excuse, which rarely is the case. We can drink anybody under the table. We can do things that most people can't, So surviving really is the threat for us. But those things are supplanted by the positives that I get from the program. That's the first type of supplanted that I wanted to talk about. The second type of supplanted is the part that comes out of the actual big book here. It talks about the almost certain consequences that follow taking of a glass of beer do not crowd into my mind to deter me. If these thoughts occur, they are hazily and readily supplanted with the old threadbare idea that this time I can do the job myself. This complete failure of the kind of defense that keeps one from putting his hand on a hot stove. Now, what I'm not going to talk about is drunk logs or failures or how I used to want to drink. That's not my style. What I will say is that complete lack of defense has been supplanted with the defense that the program has given me. When I think about that supplanting of that old threadbare idea, which was negative, with the positive, successful idea that's been given me today, I think about in the doctor's opinion where he's talking about the guy who was locked up in the barn, doomed to die. And he emerged from this barn having had the psychic change, and the doctor couldn't bring himself to recognize the guy. It says he stepped out of that barn brimming over with self-confidence and self-reliance. And he eventually went into a political thing. I don't know if he won or not, but the bottom line is this. He was changed. His wanting to die and his not being able to stop drinking was supplanted by this new idea. And the doctor talks about once this psychic change has occurred, the very same person who once seemed doomed, once the psychic change has occurred, finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol. So that once seemed doomed is now supplanted with the ability with God and through the steps. It supplants that old idea. And I think it's important to share that a transformation has taken place. That these old ideas, what brought me here, has been supplanted with what keeps me here. And the old idea that I could do the job myself and somehow drink without harm has been seen for what it is, which is a lie.
in whatever form the alcohol takes, solid or liquid form, it's a lie, and it'll always be a lie. And it's been supplanted with the good common sense that God gave me, that I obviously wasn't able to use before. Because when Daniel came out of the lion's den, he didn't say, hey fellas, let me go back in there and get my fucking hat. He had the good common sense to know better than to walk back in there. And today, God's given me the good common sense to not go back in whatever lion's den my mind from time to time, in a fleeting thought, may tell me it's okay to go back in there. Immediately, the correct thought comes. And it talks about that on 85 and 86. It talks about God gave me a brain to use. I can rely on my mental faculties with assurance. My point is that what once was my first thought was always wrong has been supplanted with the good news that more times than not, my first thought is not wrong. You know, and for me to be here after this many years to claim to you I still don't know anything and my first thought is always wrong is some fake humility bullshit. It's not true. And I don't need to even say it out loud because I'm listening to it. I know what my thoughts are. I know where my thoughts, with God's help, have taken me in recovery. And they've taken me places. And He's helped me accomplish things. And that things is attributed to the program. So what once was a broken person who was going nowhere, that has been supplanted by somebody who has gone somewhere and is continuing on this journey. So this word supplanted has taken many faces since we've started talking about it. I'll recap. What brought me here has been supplanted by what keeps me here. The idea that I can do the job and drink without harm has been supplanted with the truth of the matter that I don't even want alcohol. I'm in a position of neutrality. That broken person that I came here has been supplanted by somebody who has been a success. And I believe that that is something that the program has to offer. That's been my experience. And I appreciate being hip to that special word that I needed to be reminded of that we were talking about before. And that's going to be our topic tonight. So whatever that stirred up in your mind in those different areas of supplanted, that's what we're going to talk about. And I hope we're not going to talk about pissing in my closet thinking it's a bathroom or something in a blackout. That has no value whatsoever. Okay? That has no value. So that's not the direction I want this meeting to take. Because on a weekend night, we need to have something to live up to and some positive stuff. Lest somebody leave this place and go take a drink. So we're going to keep that from happening. So I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, and I'll